Sometimes, out on the great rolling plains, drowsy with the heat, I imagine myself as having arrived from another planet, a stranger filled with ideas and knowledge that I must communicate to another race of people. But then the monkeys, the old path, the sounds, the smell. I know I am no stranger. I was born in a village like this. This is my India. And I am Munni Rani, 32 years old. By now they know me and why I am here. How many children do you have? I ask. 3, she says. Are you going to have any more? No, 3 is enough.
ऐसी क्या बात है? अब परेशानी होगा और थे तो पहले भी मैं थाने समझायो थे तो तैयार तो पहले क्यों ना हुआ अब हो जाएंगे तैयार तो तैयार पटेल बाबा ने पूछ लिया कहीं
How can you be sure? When are you coming to have the operation? Soon, soon, he says. With the operation, you can be sure you won't have any more children. It is fast and painless.
तो मैं चाहो तो मैं ऑपरेशन करा दूंगा और चाहो तो लूप लगवा दूंगा बिल्कुल ठीक है
But they are suspicious and afraid.
मैं तो थाने पहले समझाई अच्छा तो अब मैं जाऊँ बोली भाई क्या हाल चाल है तुम्हारा
It's the same everywhere. Have you heard about the new device that stops you from having more babies?
तो अब और क्या विचार है क्या चाहती हो होने दे भगवान की देन है और भाई देख लो तुम संभाल सकोगी संभाल सकोगी फिर तब आप आती
It makes sure you will have no more babies. You have very little food in this village. If you have more babies, you will have even less food and they will be sick. I know, she says.
किसी के पास जांगिया नहीं है कुछ भी नहीं है तो फिर फायदा क्या है ऐसे भगवान की देन दाता है भगवान की देन दाता तो बिल्कुल ही तैयार नहीं हो अरे ऐसी क्या बात है पूछ तो लो
And I know that because so many children die, families want many children, hoping that enough will live, especially the sons who are needed to plow the land. How do you argue against that? Only by doing what Unicef does, improving mothers' and children's health. This helps families learn how to take good care of babies, to give them the right foods, and to educate them. Each family will then be able to see its children grow up strong and able to work. When you live in a small village of perhaps 200 people, 20 million babies, 550 million people mean nothing to you.
आपकी इच्छा है तो करा ली मेरी इच्छा से चलोगा नहीं कि खाकी इच्छा से चलो आपकी इच्छा से चले चलूंगी हैं तो भाई मैं तो ये मेरी इच्छा तो यही है कि तुम जो हो 6 तारीख को हमने वो करवाया है कैंप तो अच्छा ये है कि तुम करवा लो तो अच्छा बच्चे यूँ भगवान की तो देन है ही ये तो सभी मानते हैं पर अपने मनुष्य का भी तो थोड़ा बहुत कर्तव्य
We cannot see that India is choking herself because there are too many of us.
तो भाई तुम्हारी मर्जी अगर नहीं है तो ठीक है मत जाओ मैं तो यही सोचती हूँ कि भाई करवा लो तो बहुत अच्छी बात है और नहीं तो भाई मेरा तो समझाने का फर्ज है समझाओ और तुम्हारी मर्जी अच्छा मैं जा रही हूँ
You cannot turn your head in the big cities without seeing the poster, mother, father, and 2 children. 1 or 2, no more is the slogan. We should have started long ago. There are now 550 million of us. Of all human beings, 1 in 7 is Indian. Each year, 20 million more are born. We have 2.5% of the world's land area to support 14% of its population. Unicef helps with feeding programs and nutrition education. Mothers and school teachers get fresh water supplies to start vegetable gardens. But mothers must learn to have fewer children. What we must do sounds simple. Cut the birth rate from 41 per thousand to 25 per thousand by 1975. But this means preventing 30 million births in the next 5 years. In the cities, there has been a slight decline in the birth rate, but 80% of the population live in the country. This is Srivastava. We have worked together for a long time. She is president of the council of the Jodhwara block of villages, 117 villages in an area of 225 square miles. Their total population is 48,000. This is the village of Kalwar in the state of Rajasthan. 10 years ago, in this part of India, it would have been unthinkable to have a woman as a council president.
कुछ लोग ऐसी हैं जिनकी तंदुरुस्ती काफी खराब है। उसका कारण आप लोग खुद भी जानते होंगे कि एक तो अपने को जैसा खाना मिलता है वो मिलता है, उसके साथ ही साथ जब अपने बच्चे पैदा होते हैं उससे औरत में कमजोरी आती है। उससे क्या होता है कि
Srivastava's job is concerned with education, health, village politics and administration. But the birth control program is most important to her.
तो इसलिए ये है कि भाई ठीक है, कोई बच्चा हुआ, अब जितना सा खर्चा माँ बाप चला सकते हैं उतना से चला करके और उसको पढ़ाएंगे लिखाएंगे कुछ भी करें, बाकी 5वीं 6वीं क्लास से ज्यादा हद करी तो 10वीं क्लास से आगे हम उसका खर्चा नहीं उठा सकते और उसके बाद में फिर वो
Studies have shown that among all classes of Indian women, nearly 70% agree that birth control is a good thing. And there are no taboos in the Hindu or Muslim religions against birth control.
आदमी बना सके कि जिससे वो आगे जा करके और आप जैसी मुसीबतें वो नहीं देख सके। तो इसका सबसे बड़ा कारण क्या है कि हमारे यहाँ बच्चों की पैदावार ज्यादा बढ़ रही है। अच्छा बच्चों
But Srivastava must struggle against fear of change, lethargy and tradition. Hindu women have never regained the high social position they held prior to the Mughal invasion 400 years ago. Now the Hindu woman is bound by traditions of obedience and dedication to her husband. Women in India were never encouraged to see themselves as individuals or to plan their lives until 50 years ago. In the 1920s, Gandhi convinced them to participate in his civil disobedience campaigns. In the famed Salt March of 1930, 17,000 women went to jail. India has never lacked for good people. Unicef gives training stipends to young women who want to become nurses, nutritionists, teachers and community leaders, all very badly needed by India. Another village in the Jodhwara block. It is quite possibly 2,000 or 3,000 years old.
जब इस फॉर्म में बन जाए, उसके बाद में 12 घंटे भीगने के बाद में हम 200 ग्राम तेल सोडे.
Here I am demonstrating how to make soap and tooth powder at home. It's practical and cheap.
और धीरे-धीरे उस पानी को जो हमने तैयार करके रखा है, धीरे-धीरे पानी को इस तरीके से उस तेल के अंदर डालते चले जाएंगे. डालने के साथ ही साथ एक डंडे से हम उस तेल को अच्छी तरह से चलाते चले जाएंगे, जिससे कि वो पानी जो है वो हमारे तेल के अंदर मिल जाए. मिलने के बाद में इतनी देर तक हमको हिलाना है उसको, जिससे कि वो पानी हमारा गाढ़ा होता चला जाएगा और धीरे धीरे वो साबुन तैयार हो जाएगा. ये विधि साबुन बनाने की है. अब इसको धीरे धीरे चलाते, जैसे अपन हलवा बनाते हैं उस तरीके से गाढ़ा बन जाएगा और फिर हम उसको अच्छी तरह से रख देंगे. इससे आपको अपने आर्थिक लाभ भी होगा और आपको साबुन बनाने का तरीका भी मालूम हो जाएगा. साबन बनाना तो समझ में आ गया जी. जब वो बन जाए और उसको ऊपर तक उसको रखिए, ऊपर उठा के रख दीजिए. जिसके अंदर क्या होगा कि वो बच्चे जो हैं आपके वो कभी उसको देखें, क्योंकि ये तो एक ऐसी चीज होती है कि भाई इसमें सोडा जो होता है ना वो जहर की तरह से होता है. बच्चा अगर उसको मान लीजिए उसको खाने की चीज समझ कर मुंह में डाल ले या खा ले तो खतरा हो जाए. इसलिए उसको ऐसे ऊंचे स्थान पर रख दीजिए.
For us Hindus, bathing is an act of spiritual purification, of worship, a plea for grace. In the great rivers that rise far away in the Himalayas, we feel the spirits of the gods. And so we take the holy water and use it in worship, anointing the lingam, the symbol of all creation. Here at Pushkar Lake, one of our holiest festivals is held, and also the famous camel fair. People come from miles away.
और बच्चों, एक दफा आप लोग बोलिए जय हिंद, जय हिंद. मैं आज आप लोगों के बीच में आई हूँ.
Hinduism, perhaps 8,000 or 10,000 years old, has given us a harmonious view of the world, the universe, and our place in it.
आप लोगों को कुछ सलाह देने के लिए आज सबसे बड़ी
Tradition and religion meet at many points.
वो ये है कि अपना घर में एक रिवाज बना हुआ है.
So when I ask them to give up even some traditions, when I say these traditions are harmful and bad, must I not be very careful about what I am taking away?
अन्न जैसा भी पैदा होता है वैसा होता है. और ये आप लोगों ने सुना ही होगा कि इस वक्त अपने राजस्थान में अकाल पड़ा हुआ है. अकाल क्यों पड़ा है? किसी के डालने से तो नहीं पड़ा, लेकिन भगवान के घर से जब बरसात नहीं हुई तो फिर ऐसी सूरत में अन्न का पैदा होना भी मुश्किल है. तो इसी तरह से हर चीज में कमी आते आते आती है. जमीन का अंश भी कम होता जाता है, उसका कम हो रहा है. उसके साथ साथ बच्चों की पैदावार बढ़ती है. जब बच्चों की पैदावार बढ़ती है तो जमीन उसके साथ नहीं बढ़ती.
Srivastava is braver than I am. She will address meetings with several hundred people. And perhaps because she is so strong and so sure, the people listen.
उसमें 2 आंख लिखने भी अगर आपने सीख लिए तो आपका काफी उससे आपको मदद मिलेगी। अपने देश में औरतें काफी बड़ी-बड़ी औरतें ऐसी हुई हैं जिनकी वजह से हमारे
If we are successful, if we really do conquer disease and malnutrition, it will be because of people like Srivastava and their particular kind of courage.
ऊंची-ऊंची औरतों को पैदा किया था।
This is the Public Health Center at Jodhwara. Once a month, the family planning team for the state of Rajasthan comes to give advice. Pictures show the advantages of family planning. Books and pamphlets are of no use when most of the people are illiterate. The mothers come, some for miles, with their new babies. If these babies had been born even 10 years ago, many would have died. Little by little, over the months, Srivastava has gained their confidence. But the irony of it all. By helping these babies, we are increasing the population. India's population problem is largely due to modern health services, which have reduced infant mortality and increased life expectancy. In 1920, average life expectancy was 20 years, now it is 40. We hope to persuade our people to limit their families, to stop having more than 2 children. But usually it is not the wife's decision.
कुल कितना है? 4 बच्चा 3 बच्चे 7 बच्चा तो बच्चा तो गणो वो तो की बात है हैं अतरा ही क्यों और 2-4 को नहीं नहीं कितने रुपए मिलेंगे आपको?
By far the most effective method of birth control is vasectomy for the men. It is entirely free. In fact, the patient receives a small payment to compensate him for time lost from work. The payment itself has become an incentive. So far, nearly 4 million men have undergone vasectomies. It is a short, painless operation and does not affect virility.
मतलब 10 मेंबर हो गए ना आप मतलब 2 तो मियाँ बीवी और 8 बच्चे और लड़के कितने हैं? लड़के 3 और लड़की 5 और 3 8.
60% of the men between 25 and 35 favor family planning. But there is still nervousness and the inevitable rumors of pain and impotence.
मतलब छोटे बच्चे की मतलब छोटा बच्चा है ना छोटा भी 2 महीने का 2 माह कल 2 महीने हो गए और सबसे बड़े की 18 वर्ष बच्ची
In cases where the husband is unwilling, the wife may volunteer for a tubectomy, an operation which closes the fallopian tubes. New techniques have made this a much simpler operation than it formerly was, and it is becoming increasingly popular.
चौथे दिन आकर के आता है, कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ी दिक्कत तो होती है, चुभने की तो होती है दिक्कत तो।
4 million vasectomies is an impressive number, but it is only a small fraction of India's male population. In spite of a massive program, only 10% of Indian families practice birth control. The Jaipur railway station, 8 p.m. It is a 12-hour train ride into New Delhi through the night. It is not particularly restful or luxurious. Srivastava and I are to attend a conference sponsored by Unicef, the United Nations Children's Fund. It is impossible to sleep, so we talk, naturally, about our work. Srivastava has worked at this for 10 years. The government buildings in New Delhi are impressive. Somehow an appropriate combination of Mughal Indian and Imperial British. The theme of the conference is better health for mothers and children. As always, the problem seems a vicious circle. Health depends upon family planning, birth control requires education. We have talked of the problems before. It seems to be an abstract world of numbers, statistics, plans, theories. The numbers paint a terrifying picture, and they show us we are only inching forward in tiny percentage points. Then we step into the street. There are no abstractions here. A percentage point becomes 5 or 6 million people. There is too much humanity. Too much life. Too much vitality to drown in its own numbers. The irony again. And with the numbers in my head, I feel again like a stranger. But perhaps my people will help me.